And now let's bring your attention back to Manipur, where the India delegation over this weekend was over there. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary spearheading that particular delegation, and it was nice that the delegation members spoke to pretty much every media channel possible, all media outlets, the local ones more importantly, because their voice reaching out to the local people is much more important. It says here on the front page of the Tribune, it says, no law and order in Manipur, centre must step in, restore peace, says the opposition. The opposition means that delegation of the India Alliance. Visiting members of parliament give a memo to the governor, question Prime Minister Narendra Modi's silence. Debate, don't disrupt house, is what Om Birla, the Speaker of the lower house of the parliament, said. There should be debates, discussions on every serious issue, but there should not be disruption in assemblies or the Lok Sabha. On the other hand, let me just sum it up for the viewers, and Varghese, and I'll come back to pick your brains. It says, Team India to brief its leaders today. Back in Delhi, 21 members of parliament will brief India parties, his floor leaders in the parliament building on Monday, about their assessment of the Manipur situation, which, by the way, they've constantly come out and said that the how these relief camps are being administered, the facilities that they've been provided with, the basic ration, the places for kids and children to play. It's absolutely horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Take a look at that. Some of the visuals that were running right behind you, Varghese. Tribal leader Jinza has been booked. Jinza, apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrect, but the Manipur police have booked Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum spokesperson Ginza Walzong for promoting enmity between communities by claiming the Khongsang railway station was being used to ferry arms. Now, this particular complaint and FIR, I've also learned, maybe I was reading it somewhere, was registered first in Ghaziabad, which was then shifted and sent to Manipur. On the other hand, Manipur and the ordinance may rock the session again. The monsoon session, and it's already underway. We're seeing back-to-back, derailments of the parliamentary proceedings. The monsoon session is set to witness a stormy scene today, with opposition continuing to raise the heat on Manipur issue, seeking a discussion on a no-trust motion. Also, that Delhi bill, which we will talk about in just a short while, that is also going to be tabled. Meanwhile, there's a picture on the front page. It says a Methi community woman with her child arrives from Mizoram at a relief camp in Imphal. Do you look at what's really happening in the northeast, the ripple effects, that show of strength? Did you see that show of strength of the the tribal leaders with the kind of sophisticated weaponry that they had, the guns, the Kevlar, the walkie-talkies, and slogans, and there's proper army music that's also been playing at the back, and that show of strength is also for the people of the tribals.
It's also for that, and also to give them assurance of security as well. But at the end of the day, I think Times of India has put it out quite well. It says that the Manipur conflict could pose a threat to national security if left untamed. This is INDI's 21 member.
Have we left it untamed?
It looks like it's been untamed, and in fact, let me read further. It says that it has it tells Governor Anasuya UK,
right,
even as Congress's Vivek Tanka lavishes praise on her and urges the BJP leadership to impose central rule in the strife-torn state. And that is, of course, we're talking about Manipur. We were talking about how the India team or the INDIA team has said that there's total breakdown of law and order in Manipur. Now, that, of course, we have seen how it has been on the ground. Now, it has been said that the MPs held the union and the state governments responsible for the failure to protect the lives and properties of the people, noting that more than 60,000 people had been displaced in the past 3 months. The delegation requested the governor to apprise the union government of the complete breakdown of law and order in Manipur in the last 89 days. So, I think it's almost becoming 3 months now.
Right.
This is the kind of situation that we are seeing in Manipur. But there is another article in The Hindu that is much more worrisome. 10,000 children in relief camps in Manipur. And sessions are on for stress relief for these children. 10,000, that's a huge number of children in these relief camps.
That's not the actual number, that's not the correct number.
It is being said among the displaced are an estimated 10,000 children and adolescents distributed in 350 relief camps. And In that, it is being said that one of the nearly 1,100 miners across 37 of these camps who have found some support from stress busting program. So there is a stress busting program that has also been put in place. A lot of children in relief camps, 10,000. I mean, if I'm getting these numbers right, 60,000 people are displaced. In that, 10,000 are children who are in these.
And that's what the India Alliance that went there, that's exactly what they spoke about as well. They said that the situation in these relief camps is absolutely abhorrent and appalling.
Of course, because the relief camp is meant for a certain number of people to be there, and of course you have a huge burden when you have a lot of people walking in. You don't know, every day a relief camp is expecting more people to come in because the violence is still untamed. So it's going to be a burden on the resources. And relief camp, we are not talking only about, in Manipur alone. We're talking about relief camps in neighboring Mizoram as well, and probably in other states bordering around Manipur. So they are also taking Mizoram had sent out, and kind of an SOS saying that they need money to keep these relief camps running. And they have ethnic and kinship ties with the people in Manipur, especially the Kuki people. So it's actually appalling that so many children are in fact so displaced and the kind of trouble that they are going through. It looks like it's going to be a very difficult situation ahead, because one, you have to bring in law and order first, then you have, as you pointed out, the show of strength that is happening at the same time, with many of them
not just to the other side. It's a show of strength to your own side as well.
Your own side as well, because
look, don't worry, we got this covered.
Yeah, but that doesn't dispel the anxiety that it's going to raise, because see, over here at the end of the day, there are many mixed families of both the communities living together. There are children from such mixed families as well. So what about them? I mean, what is the kind of anxiety factor you're raising for them? We have heard horror stories coming in from the kind of suffering that most of these mixed families had to undergo because of this ethnic conflict that has been there. And it is high time that some kind of control is there. See, at the end of the day, it is welcome that you have the opposition going there, you have the government going there. But what's the net result?
Right.
You are blaming each other.
How do you look at this new, complaint that has been registered against this tribal forum spokesperson? Don't you think again it's going to look like one side is being targeted?
Exactly, it's going to be like this. But I think before this, we must also understand that there were complaints that were registered against certain organizations that belong to the Methi groups as well. So it looks like right now the government is trying to ensure that people don't raise the temperatures, they don't raise the issue of, which is already there, festering to a point where they won't be able to bring it to control. So that is why you have these complaints being registered, and probably that particular law that you take, creating enmity between two groups of people. Some people say that we are talking only about our group and we know who the perpetrators are.
Right.
So they're going to argue on that level, but it's still, the fact remains is that the message might be going on saying that do not vitiate the existing atmosphere right now, because it's a very challenging situation.
Can you vitiate it anymore?
I mean, see, right now it has come to a point where you cannot control the law and order situation. You have come to a point where you have armed gangs that are walking the streets, whichever community you belong to. And then there's so many guns out there, looted from armories, which is to say that they are government armories and looted from these armories. There's so much of guns in circulation. And this, it only requires this so-called marches to be carried out. Instead of, see, these marches don't build CVMs. They only create more distrust. It only creates more fear at the end of the day. So if these marches have been carried out with holding guns and these display of weapons, it should be actually condemned. And I think the forces on the ground are still unable to bring things in control because of a large extent of how this, or the nature of this conflict as well. Because we were seeing the involvement of a lot of women in it, some women blocking security forces from going to areas where the violence is happening. I mean, it is so complicated right now, but I think we have let this become complicated by letting this violence spread for almost 89 days, almost 3 months, because I think on May 3rd is when it was first reported, and then it has just continued from there with intermittent, gunfights happening at the same time, mobs going riotous, burning of a lot of houses. A lot of these people are so displaced because they don't have anything to go back to, Kabir. They don't have houses to go back. They don't have livelihoods to go back. And it's the same. It's whether you are a person, a Methi who moved from the hills to back to the, the valley, or from a Kuki who's moved from the valley back to the hills. what you had to look for is gone. The house that you built, the life that you have built is gone. And there's so much of only thing left back is distrust. And now the question of separate administration, trying to have an armed conflict, to one group saying that we are trying to keep the integrity of Manipur.
New union territories.
Carving out new union territories. I mean, it's only getting, or rather, a separate state.
Let's also take a look at the politics that's happening. And I'm going to start on a little lighter note. My apologies if you think it shouldn't go in the same vein. Unni, business as usual, the cartoonist, he's put out a book. The book says Manipur's Visitor's Book. And it says a collector's item. Grab it before it is banned. Before you're banned from going to Manipur, get an attempt, get in line, because you saw Rahul Gandhi went there, you saw how the Home Minister went there, you saw how the India delegation has now gone there, and everybody, in the opposition saying that why isn't the Prime Minister visiting it, why isn't the Prime Minister talking about it. Now, all communities are angry. The Prime Minister's silence shows indifference, is what the India Alliance has said when they've gone there. There's a picture of the 16 MPs, them standing with the governor of Manipur.
When the violence happened, everybody knew there was a lot of violence happening. It took 89 days for a joint opposition delegation, or cross 80 days of that violence happening. It took so much of time for a joint opposition delegation to go there. The Congress had already sent a delegation because the Manipur Congress had met Khargeji and asked him to take a look at the ground situation. So they had gone there, but then that report also came in, but it was only somewhere there, out there. And then you have a huge government level panel actually being there. You had the Home Minister himself visiting the state, going to the relief camp, speaking to people, trying to bring things in place, announcing a peace panel, which of course became a non-starter because the tensions were already quite this. And then you kept changing officers as well to bring some kind of result on the ground. So it's not that attempt is not being carried out, but there is something seriously wrong that we are unable to understand, because in a state like Manipur, territory-wise, it is actually a small state compared to the huge states like we have in Uttar Pradesh. Why is it difficult to bring in law and order? Initially, you took the law and order situation into your hands. You had so many Jawans being flown into it. And I think the sensitivity of that issue is so huge on the ground that it is not an easy challenge for any government to actually bring some kind of peace, because there are layers of mistrust that is going on. There is the politics of it, there's the ethnic clashes behind it, then there's the issue about narco issues, narco trade involved in it, then there is the issue about religion involved in it. So there are so many levels at which you have to see this conflict. And at News9 we have been speaking about it threadbare from the time the conflict has happened.
Certainly.
So, but where can we reach the point of peace? That has been something elusive. We've been talking about everything possible, but to get the stakeholders on the table has been a very difficult task. And what is that difficult task, and why is it a difficult task? Because the violence has festered for so long, it looks like the distrust has just been cemented in all of them, that probably it is going to be difficult to open even a single channel of communication with them. In fact, in a situation like this,
there's a memorandum. The MPs from the 16 parties who are part of the India Alliance they were on this 2-day visit, now saying that they visited the relief camps in Imphal, Churachandpur and Moirang on Saturday. The MPs stated in their memorandum that we are indeed very shocked and sad to hear the stories of anxieties, uncertainties, pains and sorrows of the individuals affected by the unprecedented violence unleashed by both sides since the beginning of the clashes. There is an anger and a sense of alienation amongst all communities which has to be addressed without delay. Prime Minister's silence shows indifference. The memorandum flagged the breakdown of the law and order machinery in the state and the condition in the relief camps and the plight of children affected by the violence. It also said that restrictions on internet isn't helping at all.
Well, restriction on internet works both ways. Either you can, it also stops from inflammatory posts from going on, because internet has been a point of tool of trying to gather by certain extremists. It happens that way, but it also, internet ban also tends to be a tool that suppresses a lot of things from coming out. So it works both ways. So I mean, I see it from that angle. It helps to curb unwanted or inflammatory information from going out, where people have been trying to vitiate the atmosphere and to drum up passion, it stops that as well. But at the same time, a lot what is happening on the ground, well, that might also not come out. It might come, all this might come out significantly later. But right now, it looks like the internet ban is only to actually quell the situation on the ground from becoming more highly difficult. But at the same time, because of that internet ban, we didn't see that horrendous video of outraging the modesty of those women coming out for a long time. It happened on May 4th and came out only recently, and that pricked our consciousness to the entire country's consciousness. It did prick.
Look at what I'm just reading, Varghese, what I've just picked up. Ladies and gentlemen, reading an internet copy on an India Today internet copy. It says Manipur viral video. Remember that viral video? That gut-wrenching viral video? Manipur viral video. Survivors have moved a fresh plea in the Supreme Court, and the hearing is going to take place today. The women in the harrowing video from Manipur, which showed them being paraded naked and sexually assaulted, have filed a fresh petition before the Supreme Court. The women who were paraded naked and sexually, the survivors essentially, have filed this separate application in connection with the FIR related to the May 4th sexual assault incident, along with their plea for protection of their identity. The development comes as the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud-led bench is set to peruse, beg your pardon, the reply of the Ministry of Home Affairs today. Another major development that
It's a
has
huge
in fact taken
development, in
place.
fact, what you're looking at, because that video is something that actually spoke about the intensity of that conflict and who are the actual victims. The women and children are the actual victims. 10,000 children in relief camp, women being exploited like this on both the sides. I think that is something that, but finally, the survivors, that identity is something that is very important, because all our laws try to protect the identity of the survivors, and that video went quite viral. It brought about the ghastly nature of the violence that was happening, Kabir, and I think many of them in fact did raise about the concern that it was circulating in a way that revealed the identity of these women as well. So I think that is something that they want to in fact raise in their plea as well, what I understood from what you were reading.
Well, so there's the FIR that's happened. The opposition alliance is back in the national capital. It's going to be a stormy parliament session today again, and the survivors of that particular May 4th abhorrent crime, they've moved the Supreme Court in connection with the FIR that is related to the May 4th incident in Manipur, where the women were paraded naked, and all sorts of evil took place certainly on that day.